Hi there, I'm the Reverend Danny Crosby, a Unitarian minister serving congregations in Altrincham and in Urmston in the northwest of England. And I offer this devotion as a balm for the heart, for the mind, for the spirit, and for the soul. And it is titled Not Giving Things Up, simply giving to and having a good time. Last week I attended two interfaith events in Altrincham. It was wonderful to come together with people from different traditions, all working with the same heart and the same spirit. We may not think alike or believe alike, but we certainly loved alike. The first event was an entertainment evening. We enjoyed offerings from different traditions, a variety of songs, storytelling, poetry, dance, all sorts of things. And it was wonderful. We all reflected as we did on the troubles in our world, and we all shared joy, blessings, and gifts that we all shared together. I personally shared some songs of Rodgers and Hammerstein, whilst also telling the story of Hammerstein himself and how his universalism, the Universalist Sunday school he grew up in New York as a child, had shaped his life, but had also shaped his songwriting, how it's threaded through it all. But we also shared the songs, which I sang heartily. Last Sunday afternoon, I attended the Mayor of Trafford's multi-faith civic service, organised by the current Mayor, Jane Brophy. It was held at Altrincham Baptist Church, where Jane is a member. Several folk from the Dunham Road congregation were in attendance. Gwyneth Roper, our chair, and also the chair of Jane's fundraising committee, played a huge role in ensuring the event ran smoothly. And Peter Flower, the ministry student working with me and myself, also participated. Peter actually stepped in at the last minute to play the keyboard, as the keyboard player at the Baptist church was unwell. Again, this was a wonderful occasion, full of spirit and full of culture. It was wonderful to see mostly community cohesion in these very divisive times. Jane insisted that I led the singing, which I dutifully did. I didn't need that much encouragement, if I'm honest. Towards the end of the service, Jane mentioned that she wanted to share a secret about me to all those gathered. She teased it a little, actually, and I did wonder what the heck she was going to say. I was a little concerned. I wondered, what was she going to say? And she teased it out before finally, at the end, she publicly wanted to thank me for something I'd done 10 or more years ago. Her son Edwin was very poorly at the time, and she said that I dutifully visited him every single week at the Moorside unit at Trafford General. Edwin had grown up at the Sundays with his brother and sister at the Sunday school at Dunham Road, and ever since I became the minister, this was before my ministry, but ever since I became the minister there, we've always talked and we've always got on well. We've always had a kind of connection. Not always been easy, of course, because of one or two challenges that Edwin has. As she shared, it brought quite an emotion deep within me. I'd been at an emotional time, actually, but I managed to contain it. It's interesting, I've not really thought about that I'd done that ever since, really. I was just simply doing what I thought was right at the time. Another thing happened, actually, as I left the event. A woman approached me to talk to me of a friend of hers, Sheila, who had died in recent times, sadly. Sheila had from time to time attended both worship and some events at the Urmston and the Altrincham congregations. And the lady wanted to tell me how much Sheila appreciated me and the work I'd done and the communities that I serve. Although she did also tell me that her own priest, Sheila was a Catholic, had discouraged her from attending my events, unfortunately. But the woman wanted me to know how much she thought of me and how much of a really open welcome she'd received from both congregations that I serve. It touched my heart. What a lovely gift to be freely offered. And it seemed totally in keeping with the spirit of the occasion that we both attended. Later that evening, I noticed that the video promoting the Oh Yeah share option had been released. Oh Yeah is an art collective that have taken over the running of the town hall in Altrincham. I believe they've got a 25-year lease there, actually. And they are doing amazing and creative community work there. The choir that I sing with rehearses there every Monday night. In the autumn, we recorded a song for the launch of the share option and appeared in the video along with other local figures, including Barbara Thackeray, a member at Dunham Road. It was amazing to see the video and funny too. The whole project is another wonderful example of people giving what they have from their heart for the good of not only themselves, but their community. It gave me a marvellous sense of well-being, to quote the song, which is based on Part Life by Blur, but obviously the lyrics and tune have been changed slightly. It's also very funny. Now, while I may be a singer, I am most certainly not a dancer. I am not. Last week, I saw another example of people giving what they have from their hearts. As I have mentioned, I have two writer friends. Well, one of them has just written his first one-person play, and it's about to be performed in London. Last week it was being rehearsed in the schoolrooms at Dunham Road, and by this weekend it will be performed. It's the first thing he has written and produced in some time, actually. And it was wonderful to see my other friend, who is the owner of Ronnie Molly's play friend, who she's directing it. It's her first go at directing, actually. It's just wonderful to see them getting back and using their gifts and what hearts desires in such wonderful, creative and productive ways, using what has been given to them. It's just so lovely. A week last Saturday, Molly and myself and a few friends who are all singletons, shall we say, went for a walk together in Dunham Massey. And what was Valentine's Day? So we made it Palamine's Day, didn't we? During the walk, a couple of friends began to talk about the things that they are planning to give up for Lent. They were talking about the luxury items, such as giving up certain sugary drinks and giving up chocolate, the usual Lenten sacrifices that most people make. Things they will struggle to give up, no doubt. And then while this is a wonderful thing, and maybe it's part of Lent, I did wonder if this is really what is at the heart and the spirit of the self-sacrifice, at the heart of Lent. It's not just about giving up luxury items. I think there's more to it. And I think that perhaps, and I often think this really, maybe it's better to think about what we can give to life from our heart, from our own human capacity, and perhaps think of the things to let go of that get in the way of us giving from what we've been gifted in life, like my writing friends. And how this is probably different for each of us, for we are all gifted different things. We each have different things to give to life. So I'm thinking to concentrate this Lenten season on giving what's within me to the world out there and removing whatever is in me that gets in the way of doing so. That would be a wonderful thing to be born again on Easter morning, don't you think? Something to think about anyway. So I have made a decision. This Lenten season, I'm going to attempt to let a different spirit live through me, actually. To see what I can give from my heart and my soul and attempt to let go of the things that get in the way of me doing so. To not give up things, but to give what I can and give up what blocks me from doing so. It's so easy to live in cynicism and say, well, what's the point of doing that? But who does that serve? Certainly not my soul. I'm going to try and live by the examples all around me and do what I can with what I have. I'm going to try to live in what I consider the solution as opposed to the problems I see in my life and the wider world. I'm going to give love even if it's just in small ways. I'm going to do so while recognizing how difficult that is to do. Even for my nearest and my dearest, it's so easy to be tempted off the course, isn't it? I do know that by doing so, my outer world is going to improve, and my inner world, in so doing, will heal whatever wounds are within me. Even if it's in just tiny, small ways, it can make all the difference. Lots of tiny things make large things, do they not? It comes in the little things, thus saith the Lord. This Lenten season, I'm going to invoke the spirit of Derek Brown in all of my activities. It was Derek's funeral I conducted this Thursday. I'm going to try and live by his example, how he was with people, by his warmth, his care, his welcome, and his good humour too. He had a good time doing it. They were natural gifts that he just lived by. And by doing so, he touched so many lives as we celebrated his life on Thursday. And we also mourned his loss. He was a man who was utterly dedicated to the community of Urmston in so many different ways, not just our church. And this was shown really by the outpouring of love and all the people that came to mark his loss and to celebrate his life last Thursday. A wonderful human being, Derek Brown. I'm going to miss you. During the service last Sunday, Peter Flower, the ministry student on placement with me this year, on placement with my congregations this year, spoke of the many forms of love, not just the romantic kind that we celebrate on Valentine's Day. And the day before, on the walk out with my Singleton friends, we were practicing one of the forms of love that the Greeks talked of, filial love. But I want to talk a little here today, now in this devotion, about a love that's about giving, about giving up what gets in the way of giving what's in our hearts, and that's agape love, or what some call spiritual love. It is the kind of love that the faith traditions are at the heart of the faith traditions, really. Although sadly they often fall short and can do anything but live from those traditions. It's the kind of love that was invoked at those two interfaith events I attended by virtually all participating. It's the love that fueled the songs of Rodgers and Hammerstein, and it's the love I witnessed in Derek's life. This is the kind of love that is non-exclusive, that is open to all, that is supposed to have no boundaries. Instead, this love builds bridges between the walls that we create around ourselves and even our communities. Agape is the love that Jesus spoke of in the Gospels. He commanded his followers to love one another as I have loved you. And he's not talking about some soft, mushy love here. Don't be fooled, please. When he preaches that we should love our enemies, he was commenting on the commandment in Leviticus, actually. You must love your neighbour as yourself, the golden rule that's at the heart of all the faiths. When Jesus spoke of love, he was talking about an action that puts someone or something else at the centre of life, rather than our individual selves. He's talking about yielding for the good of all, instead of living by self-interest alone. Now, this message, of course, is not unique to the Judeo-Christian tradition. It is actually the essence of all the great faiths. It's at the heart of them all. For it would appear that selfishness and self-centeredness has been the root of so many of humanity's troubles throughout human history. So it's not surprising that the idea of yielding for the good of all is at the core of the great faith traditions, even if they're not always practiced. That putting something other than our selfish needs is at the centre of what we do, how vital that is to human survival, something we really need at this time, actually. Here's an example from something none other than the Judeo-Christian tradition, the great Chinese Guide to Statecraft, the Tao Te Ching, authored by Lao Tzu, who made similar claims such as, the only person who is fit to rule is the man who has overcome the habit of selfishness. Our rulers should be at the heart of them. Or to quote the Tao itself, think about the golden rule, so similar. The reason there is great affliction is that I have a self. If I had no self, what affliction would I have? Therefore, to one who honours the world as his self, the world may be entrusted. And to one who loves the world as oneself, the world may be consigned. Or to love thy neighbour as thyself. Agapeic love was the foundation of Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King's ministry. He was the great champion of the civil rights movement in the 1950s and 60s America. He saw it as an abundant overflowing of love that seeks nothing in return, that is open to all and rejects self-interest. Not sentimental. It's not got nothing to do with whether we like a person or not, but it's the kind of love that recognises the common humanity of all and reveres the other person as yourself. It recognises our sacred humanity. It recognises the sacred mystery in everyone. It is this that forms the beloved community that Luther King spoke of. What the Gospels call the kingdom of God. What others have called the commonwealth of love. What I call the kingdom of love, where all are kin. Or what some others call simply fellowship, where all are fellows sailing the same ship. Now, while agapeic love is not soft or mushy or sentimental, it is still a condition of the heart. It is a way of being that encompasses all aspects of our humanity, head and heart, as well as mind, body and spirit. It's about how we are and how we act. In Dr. King's sermon titled Love in Action, he preached that one day we will learn that the heart can never be totally right if the head is totally wrong. Only through bringing together head and heart, intelligence and goodness, shall man rise to a fulfillment of his human nature. Man, of course, means all of humanity here. But it's wrong to believe that Dr. King's ministry was purely focused on the injustices of society that were external to him. While obviously focusing on this, he also spoke of healing our inner violence, not just the external violence. Non-violent action motivated by love, that he had adapted from the teachings of Gandhi, was also about committing to not only to non-violent resistance externally, but also internally. Both he and Gandhi knew how vital it was that we transformed our inner lives before we looked to the world, actually. Gandhi named this Satyagraha, or soul force. Both he and Dr. King knew that in order to transform society for the better, they first had to develop themselves spiritually, or they could damage society. And why was this? Well, they knew that if a person did not heal the violence within themselves, that when they did begin to overcome the injustices they were experiencing, they may well end up replacing it with something just as destructive. And we only have to look at our human history of the last 200 years to see examples of that. Movements that began as a protest against tyranny, and yet, in so many cases, they replaced the former tyranny with something as bad, if not worse. We must all be wary of what Star Wars called the dark side of the Force, of how corrupting power and self-righteousness, how corrupting and dangerous that can be. Self-righteousness, probably one of the greatest danger of humanity. For our human history is littered by examples of this. We lose a sense of humanity for all, actually, even our enemies. They're just as human as you or I. They just see life differently. We must never lose a sense of their shared and common humanity, though, or we become worse. Love is a way of being, and this can be tough at times. Love is not sentimental or mushy, and it's something I'm going to be focusing on this Lenten season, bringing that love to life. I'll be focusing on all seasons, but really this time I'm going to really focus on it. It is amazing to me how something like Lent, which in my view is about self-sacrifice, about giving of self for others, can at times become quite self-centered. It can become a vanity project as just something giving up items for our own self-interest, such as chocolate and sugar, I guess. We lose sight of what it's really about. It becomes something that's just for our own good and not thinking about self-sacrifice for others, for the greater good. They do it for themselves. But is this what Lent is about? Just our own vanity? I don't think so. It's not the right focus for me. Surely it's about agape, about self-giving love, about loving all without prejudice, about recognizing the inherent worth and dignity of all. Isn't this the example that Jesus gave to humanity? In the same way that Gandhi and Dr. King and so many others from so many other traditions did too, how they gave of themselves wholeheartedly for others. And they were murdered for it. But although their bodies were killed, their message survived their physical death, and it can still live on today if we would but embody it. For the loving spirit is timeless, and it is universal, and it is immortal. But it does need a body. It needs to work through our bodies. We need to embody this loving spirit. So that's what I'm going to try and do. So I've made a decision. This Lenten season, I'm going to attempt to let this spirit live through my body. This Lenten season, I'm going to focus on giving instead of giving things up. But I'm also going to see if I can give up what gets in the way of me doing so. This Lenten season, I'm going to see what I can give to life instead of what I can give up in life. This Lenten season, I'm going to live by what I consider the solution as opposed to what I see as the problem. I'm going to give love, even if it's just in small ways. And I'm going to do so while recognizing how difficult that is to do. Even to my nearest and dearest, the ones I love the most. I do know that by doing so, my outer world is bound to improve, but my inner world will begin to heal too. But I'm also going to have a good time doing so. I'm not going to take myself too seriously. What I do seriously, but not myself too seriously. I'm going to dance a little and sing a little. I'm going to sing more. I'm going to dance more. I'm going to run and scream and shout a little more. I'm going to sing the joy of living in all its mystery. And I'm going to encourage others to do the same. To live as much as I can from my heart and encourage them to live from their hearts. I'm going to follow the example of those who sang the joy of living in all of life's mystery. I'm going to invoke Derek Brown, actually. I'm going to let his spirit live on, his example to us all, his example and his love to me and so many others. So I'm going to leave you with a question, though. What are you going to give to the world from yourself, from your heart this season? What are you going to let go of? What are you going to let go of what gets in the way of you giving from your heart, from giving wholeheartedly? I'll leave you with that one. I am naughty, aren't I? But I'll end with some words of blessing. You know, we need to bless more, and we can all bless. We bless when we give ourselves wholeheartedly to life. So let's return to our lives in a loving, peaceful spirit and deeply regard everyone that we meet and listen to all souls. Speak what we must speak, and be ready in any moment to disarm our own heart and always live as if the realm of love had already begun. And may the blessings of God go with us all, and may it do so in all that we feel, in all that we think, in all that we say, in all that we do. Go in love and peace. Amen.